Good morning, church. Good evening, good afternoon, depends on what time you're watching this video. Welcome to PBC Northgate and to this year's edition of Father's Day. Today is a day we set out to celebrate all the fathers and the father figures that we have in our lives, to reflect and even recognize all the influence that they have in our society, and most importantly on the contribution that they make in their lives of their children. Heading to the fifth commandment in Exodus chapter 20, it says that honor your father and your mother. And as PBC Northgate, as a church, we have set out to celebrate and honor our fathers today. I'm joined by three gentlemen today who are also fathers, and we'll have a quick discussion, a brief discussion on fatherhood. So I'll just give them this opportunity to just introduce themselves, and then we'll see how the conversation will go and where it will take us. We can start with Ken.
Thank you very much, Albert. My name is Ken Munene. I'm a father to a 7-month-old daughter.
Oh, that's great. Great.
Thank you.
Young father. Hata mimi nafika hapo.
Thank you, Albert. My name is George Munge. I'm a father of 3, 2 adults, and one student who is also an adult.
All right.
Yes.
Great, great. Then finally, it's the...
My name is Eric Kinyanjui, a father of 2, one turning 10 and the other one turning 7.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Hata mimi nafika hapo. My name is Albert. Did I introduce myself? I'm Albert, and I'm also glad to say that I will be a father at one point. What memory comes to you when you think about your father? I can say mine is resourcefulness, because you know my dad is very resourceful. When he thinks about, or when you present a problem to him, he'll immediately start thinking of, getting something, how to fix it, na tutatumia hata sellotape na hata inaweza kuwa pili ya banana, and he will make it work. That's what comes to mind when I think about my father. Maybe starting with Eric at the end.
Yeah, I think when I think about my father, one of the things that definitely comes out is commitment. I saw his level of commitment to the point where my mom fell ill and later on passed away. Until that very day when my mom passed away, he was standing next to her. And for the 49 years that they were together in marriage, there was consistency in the commitment that he had as a father. And that is one quality that I honestly wish to have and emulate from him. That sense of dependability, that sense of consistency, and genuine love as a father.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, that's great. Thank you. Mr. Munge?
As you can see, Albert, I'm an old man, so I found my father an absent father, because I think those days they used to work for the white men. So most of the time I never used to find him. So I think I cannot say much about him, because by the time he came home, he was already old, and I would think I related more to my mother than to my father.
All right.
Yes.
Any father figures maybe in your life?
Yes. Of course, during our time,
Yes.
any man of your father's age was your father,
Yes.
and like today. So, and the discipline was for everybody. So they are all the fathers, like my uncle now, or his brothers. In those days, my father's elder brother, you didn't call him uncle. You call him either young father or older father, depending on where he fell in the age group between him and his father and between my father and him. If he was younger than my father, he is my younger father. If he was older than my father, he is my older father. That's all.
All right, that's great. Finally on Ken.
Similar to Munge, I also didn't grow up with a father. However, my maternal uncles have played the role of a father figure. And I think the main difference I remember between my mother and my uncles and the father figures was that they were more willing to let me explore. Their boundaries were not very close. So while my mother worked a lot to protect me, for them, their attitude was more like, go out, try out more things. Yeah. So I felt they provided a much longer leash. All right. Yeah.
Something, and I know this is coming from church. I love that verse that says that God is our Father, even to the fatherless. And I mean, it works out very, very well for everybody. This is not a question that I would probably answer myself, but how did you feel the first time you held your son or your daughter? How was that moment? Are you able to relive it for us? Mr. Munge can.
My firstborn is called Kenneth Munge. He's a medical doctor. He was born in 6th August, 6th June, so 8th June, 1982. And I think firstborns are very rough, and I think we were very, very happy, both me and my wife. And I think it's difficult to express that kind of feeling with words, but you could give him everything. Yeah, and as he grew up, before that, as a bachelor, you used to have a lot of things, precious things that you really value. And he keeps on destroying them, but you don't feel it. You just admire him.
All right.
Yes.
All right. I can even see the joy exuding from your face. Eric?
Wow, how did it feel? My experience, I think, goes back to just before before I held that particular child, the night just before. I think I had the opportunity to walk with Sarah as she went into the labor ward and the likes. Prior to that, there was a sense of expectation, where you look forward to this new one, and immediately this child came. There was a sense of, wow, what an opportunity to take part in co-creating, co-creating with God. But at the same time, there was a sense of responsibility suddenly, because there was a sudden transition from being a husband to being a father. And that responsibility is not just for you or for me alone, but it's also to take care of this child, because the government suddenly is aware and has been notified that a child has come into existence somewhere in this country. So there was a sense of joy. There was a sense of joy, finally. The journey of waiting for so many weeks has finally come to an end. I could see the struggles that my wife had, especially towards the end of her, her time. And I could tell that, even at night, there were many sleepless nights. So I looked forward to a sense of relief, especially for her. But also at the same time, there was a sense of joy and relief, and also responsibility at the same time. So all those things were playing just around the same time. Yes.
I'll come back to you with, you said that it came with a sense of responsibility. I'll come back to you on that. Meanwhile, we can just hear Eric. Eric just told us that he has a 7-month-old baby. So yours must be the freshest.
Yes, she's the youngest. I think my memory is the most fresh. The main memory, I think, is joy. It's you feel really happy being able to hold your own child and to start your responsibilities as a father. Before my daughter was born, I guess there was the normal worry and anxiety, wondering, will things go well? Will you be a good father? What is it to be a good father? But once the child came in, then I really didn't feel that sense of worry anymore. I knew that I'd manage. I knew that it would be a good journey. Plus, you you discover a lot more things about yourself. You realize you don't get irritated quite as quickly as you used to as a bachelor. So all those, what Mr. Mungi mentioned, all the things that previously would piss you off, someone broke something, you suddenly realize someone can't anger you that way anymore. So it's been an exciting journey.
Hey, I look forward to getting there. And mentioning that, something like that, how, maybe if you can just delve into it, how has fatherhood changed you as a man?
I think it's difficult to be a real man without before you become a father or before you start taking care of someone else, whether it's your own biological child or it's someone who wholly relies on you. While manliness is generally viewed as brute strength and being, physically strong and beating up people, what have you. Once you're a father, what I realized is that it's more about your mental strength, because sometimes your baby gets ill or she's unwell and there's nothing much you can do, or rather you are really limited in what you can do, or your child is crying. So you get to discover a really different meaning of what being a man is. And it's a more complex personality than what I think the kind of man I was before I was a father. Yeah.
All right. I think as bachelors, and I know I speak for many, we long for such a time when we can get something like that. Eric, coming back to you on responsibility, how did you handle the responsibility that came with fatherhood? And I know there's also a mind shift that came with fatherhood. How did you handle that?
Very good question, because even now I'm still trying to handle the whole aspect of responsibility. But like I mentioned, fatherhood has a lot of responsibility tied into it. The responsibility to make sure that responsibility in terms of creating order, especially in a home. I have realized that just by the reason of your voice and the authority that you carry in that home, things will fall in a certain order. There's a sense in which the children will tend to listen to what you're trying to say. A lot will be said in the house, but when you speak in that house, then that becomes the guiding factor in that particular home. So there's a sense in which that creates a sense of order. And even if things are not being followed in a certain way, when you come in and intervene and say, this is how things are going to run, then that becomes the final word, so to speak, in the home. So it creates a sense of that kind of responsibility to ensure that discipline and order within the home is governed in a particular way. But also in terms of responsibility, I'm also looking at spiritual responsibility. When as a bachelor, you can take your life in a certain way, but when you now begin to realize that spiritual responsibility squarely lies on you in that home to guide the home in a specific way, then it creates a sense of seriousness. So there's a sense of seriousness as a father to ensure that the family is nourished spiritually, and also the responsibility to carry that particular home before God. God has a way of expanding you as a father, not only to pray for yourself, but to pray for the entire family and bring the entire family before God. So there is that bit of spiritual responsibility, making sure that prayer is going on, the sharing of the word of God is a consistent element within the home. But apart from that, there are also other needs that within the home. And so it creates a responsibility of being serious in whatever you're doing and being diligent in what you're doing. As a bachelor, probably it's easier to hop around and do many things. But now that you have a family with you, you can't afford to be casual about it. So there's a sense in which now you have to be serious in what you're doing. You have to be serious in the responsibilities that you're doing around you. So it creates that sense, or that you have to be responsible about what is around you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where the mind shift
Yes.
also now comes in. I like what you say, that it's still a walking journey. It's never a destination. And that's, that's something that I can easily take home today. Mr. Munge, based on your experience, and we can see that the experience is there, and you said it even as we started the show. Based on your experience, what kind of relationship do you think fathers should have with their kids?
I think the most important thing is to make it free for you and your children to talk freely, such that they can be able to tell you what they want and how they feel, so that it is not a question of when you come home. It's like there is fear in that home. They should actually be longing forward to when you are coming, because maybe they have some homework they want to do with you, or there is something they want to share, maybe from other children around, which you can tell them now. You can guide them. This is the way you should not do this, because this is bad. But the most important thing is that freedom to interact freely, because that is very, very important. Because if they don't interact with you freely, then you won't know even when things are going wrong. Yes, very important.
And that's important, because it also mirrors the relationship that God now established through us, through his son Jesus Christ. We'll go on a short break, and then we'll come back, and coming back, we'll hear on a very interesting topic: fathering a girl, fathering a boy. Is there any difference? Which one is harder? What are the intricacies of that? Stay tuned to get to this.